Hey Andrew, what time is it?
I'm not saying it.
It's time for another Fireside review.
Welcome in to our sunny side review of Hour of Devastation.
More like 20 minutes of devastation.
Let's get right into our top 5 spotlight cards for the set. We don't usually start off with a mythic, but our white pick is Crested Sunmare. It's a 5/5 horse for 5, which, with the ability other horses you control have indestructible. And at the beginning of each end step, if you gain life this turn, create a 5/5 white horse creature token. So pretty powerful, I think.
Yeah, it seems good, and I'm liking the flavour. A lot of people have said it's a bit random just because it's a horse and it gives other horses indestructible, and there's no other horses in the set, of course.
Yeah.
But the fact that the whole of the other set is talking about death and destruction and all of that, all that jank, this is one of the few cards that actually shows some purity and life still in the cards, so I like it for the flavour of that.
Yeah, so Beacon of Light. I think you're definitely playing in limited, constructed maybe. Imagine going Anointed Procession turn 4 into this on turn 5, and then swinging with a life linker and just ending it with a load of horses. So, I mean that seems pretty good.
Seems pretty fun to get unlimited.
Yeah, I guess it won't be only fools. It might be some horses as well.
So the next card we're going to be reviewing is Free Insanity. So it's 2 and a blue. It's an enchantment and or a curse. So you enchant the player, and basically it says at the beginning of each end step, enchanted player puts the top X cards of his or her library into his or her graveyard, where X is the number of cards put into the graveyard from anywhere this turn. So already from first looks it seems pretty powerful. What do you think, Andy?
I really like it. I was all over Sphinx's tutelage in Magic Origins, so I'm really excited to see another card that's supporting Mill. I love cards like Startled Awake, and imagine playing this on turn 3, then going Startled Awake on turn 4 and milling them for 13, and then at the end of the turn 26. I mean that's half the library gone, so pretty insane, I think.
Yeah, no, it seems pretty powerful. I mean, you could easily build. There's enough cards in standard at the moment to easily build a good mill deck with revolving around this card. Yeah, it seems pretty powerful. I think we'll definitely see some decks in it in stand come in the future.
Yeah, and the effect stacks as well. If you've got 2 of them, then the trigger will go once and then twice. So if you mill 5 cards during the turn, then they'll mill 10 with the first one, and then another 10 for the second as well. So you'll mill quite a lot of cards with 2 curses out.
That's always a plus, isn't it? So you're not, if you can put 4 in, and then if you get a draw second one, it's not wasted. It's still gonna hit them twice as hard.
It's also important to note that when because it's every end step, even if they play spells in their own turn, or they whenever they play a spell themselves, if they try and counter something, try and kill something, then it's going to mill themselves because a card is entering their graveyard, and then they'll end up with a second card going in as well.
And I think it's going to be a thorn in the side for the Delirium decks out there as well.
Do you reckon just to mill them out? Yeah.
Well, they're going to be milling themselves as it is, so that's going to, well, it might help them to be fair, but it depends. It might.
It seems like a hard.
Speed them up mill. So help them get to Delirium, but
they'll
probably kill themselves quicker. So
I agree. I'd love to see that happen. For them to just help you mill themselves. Our black spotlight card is Torment of Scarabs, costing CMC 4. It's another one of those curses. We just love those curses at the moment. I particularly fond of Trespasser's curse in standard at the moment, which I did quite wreck Christie with one time. He was pretty angry with his revolt deck. So yeah. What do you think of this particular curse?
Yeah, no, I'm loving it because I've personally got a black and white horror deck myself. So yeah, no, this is a good addition to the curses that are currently out there. Anything that plays a fair amount of creatures is gonna be pretty powerful against. Control, obviously, it's pretty bad against, but anything with a lot of creatures, which a lot of people are playing. It's just really, really powerful, I think, at the moment. And I mean, you can always sideboard destroy enchantments, but if you're running all enchantments, then it's going to be quite hard to get rid of all of them, you know.
The worst part of this card is obviously that they make the choice of whether they lose 3 life unless they sacrifice a non-land permanent or discards a card. So they can choose the best option for them at the time. So they can choose to either lose the 3 life or discard a card. If obviously if they want to keep their permanents. So you can get around this by using the new spells in the format, like Bontu's Reckoning, I want to say, which destroys all creatures, and cards like that which kind of force them into the options. Even if you're playing things like Unburden with cycling and like the kind of good value black cards, which force them to lose that life or force them to sacrifice a permanent as appropriate.
That's right. I think this and Trespassers Curse were a bit underrated, if you like, because it just forces the other opponent to play in a completely different way, especially this one, I find. So it's going to make them rethink how they play the creatures, and you're going to force the play on them, and they can change how they're going to play their cards. So I think it's even especially in limited, it's going to be a pretty powerful card, and I look forward to playing it.
Definitely.
Welcome to Get Wrecked News. We've just had some breaking news from Amonkhet. Andrew, what's the story?
Yes, we've got a live feed from Amonkhet during the Hour of Devastation.
Okay, so for our red card, we're going to be looking at the Hour of Devastation. So it's 3 and 2 red, and it's a sorcery. It's all creatures lose indestructible until end of turn. Hour of Devastation deals 5 damage to each creature and non-Bolas Planeswalker. What do you think, Andrew?
I think it's a powerful card. It's named after the set. I think that's kind of shows enough. A lot of people concerned about playing sweepers in standard because of the amount of Planeswalkers. People are playing Gideons. Hate Gideon. And this is a kind of clean way of dealing with it. It deals with Chandra, it deals with Gideon. Even if they +1 the ability, so it's a really clean way for sweepers. I'm a bit concerned about blue-red control, which is quite big in our metagame in our local game store, but so maybe we don't want to be giving them extra tools, but it seems like a powerful card, and I think it's going to see some standard play, maybe the Wrath of choice.
Yeah, no, it definitely seems really powerful. I'm not sure about limited. I mean, it would be pretty good, I guess, when you base your deck around it. But it's a powerful card, and there's so many sweepers going on now in a standard. So you've got all the minus sweepers from Kaladesh and Amonkhet, and of course you've got Fumigate. So there's a lot of board wipes going on at the moment,
as well as the new white destroy all permanents. That's
as well as that. So yeah, we could see quite a lot of different control decks based around these sweepers, where they try and wipe the board and then play the long game. But yeah, I like the card. It's a powerful card, and I think it deserves the name Hour of Devastation because it is quite OP on the OP scale.
Hour of Devastation! Our last spotlight card is Aronis' Last Stand. It's our green card. Now, Aronis' Last Stand is part of a cycle where all of the gods from the last set have a Last Stand card called different things. And it's symbolised by exerting your lands so they don't untap during your next untap step. This spell seems particularly powerful. It's create a 5/4 green snake creature, but only 2 mana, 2 green, and it seems more powerful than the other spells because of how little it costs, because it'll affect you more late game, whereas this, you could play this on turn 2 and then untap, and you won't untap your 2 land, but you could play another green and then play Kessig Prowler or another 1-drop, which for an aggressive card like this, I think it could be potentially powerful.
Yeah, I think it's a really powerful card, especially in aggro decks. It does die to Fatal Push, but apart from that, most removal it's safe from. Electrify as well, it will die to, but again, most removal it's pretty safe against. But yeah, you get this out early game, even if it's not an aggro deck, you still got a 5/4 straight off, so you're going to be protected for your next few turns anyway, from taking any damage. So even in a control deck, this will be
your opponents.
Be alright.
Your opponents definitely got to deal with it. If they don't deal with it, then you can get away with it quite quickly with the game.
Yeah, and it's a way of getting, you know, you can get a Sorella green deck with massive creatures, and you know, if you've got a 2 mana 5/4 snake, and you've got a 3 mana 3/3 or 4/3, then you've got the Colossal Speed on turn 5 or anything like that. You know, suddenly you've got a board full of massive creatures, and it's already going to be tough for your opponent to deal with that.
Yeah, that's the last of our
Hour of Devastation.
That's the last of our spotlight cards. So let's move on to the next promised hour. This set, we particularly like a lot of the art pieces. I think they've gone for a slightly different direction with some of them. I think it's really interesting. One of my favourite pieces is Tragic Lesson. It's really a grisly piece, and it really captures the kind of dark nature of the set, more so than maybe some of the kind of fantasy sets with Oath of the Gatewatch, where all the stuff was kicking off, obviously, but the Eldrazi didn't quite do it for me artistically, and this one just kind of cuts home a bit with the blood kind of spilling out. It's a bit grisly. I really like it. We can also see in some of the other pieces quite a distinct art style with strong brush marks and kind of just looks a bit more hand-drawn, kind of more tender than some of the art we've seen recently, particularly like the Striped Riverwinder. I quite like this card. I think it just looks bold and just kind of catches the eye a bit more than some of the new art that we've seen. I think you've got more of a favourite as well.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I'm really enjoying the art in this set as well. Personally, I quite like Solitary Camel. I think it's a silhouette card, so it's quite like the colours as well. It's quite a vibrant colour in contrast with the darkness. But no, I think it's very nice to look at, as well as a Feral Prowler. So it's a cat creature. I don't know. It kind of looks like a painting, like to me, but it's almost like 2D, if you like, as opposed to trying to make it look too realistic. You know, kind of it fits in with the whole Egyptian sort of theme as well. That card, you know, with the whole captures, both of those cards capture the
yeah, it's almost like hieroglyphics or
yeah, sort of the vibrance of the sun and sort of the desert, you know, sort of it probably captures that mood it's trying to set in the whole set of the cards.
yeah, so we just think all the art's pretty good. I think they've taken a really interesting style. And obviously, shout outs to Paul from Tekken, who has made a quick cameo in the set. So now, taking a look at some of the new mechanics of the new set. Some of them are obviously returning from Amonkhet. You've got things like Exert, which we'll see again, and as well as some of the Exert land spells. They've done some things slightly different with Exert this time. Some interesting new cards where you can exert them without attacking and various other things, but so very interesting. But one of the big sellers of the set is obviously the new God cards, and they've decided again to go with a slightly different take on the gods. They're not indestructible this time, so it's very interesting.
Yeah. So this time they've instead of making them indestructible, they've made it so if they die, they return to your hand at the next end step. At the end step, is that right, Andrew?
Yeah.
That's right, excellent. So a few good things about that. If you sacrifice it, it means it dies and goes back to your hand, whereas suppose if you indestructible ones, it would just stay in your graveyard. However, there are some, not a lot, exile cards that make you exile cards from your graveyard. I mean, I doubt anyone's going to plan that far ahead that they're going to make you exile it as soon as it dies that turn, but you know, it's just something to bear in mind.
There are a lot of graveyard hate cards in the set. There's things like the Scarab card and Watchers, that cat card, the artifact, and there's a lot of more artifact hate, including that 1 mana artifact, which you can kind of tap and exile a card and things like that. So maybe this is something they've had in mind when designing the set.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, they've always got to create something that, if it is quite OP, something that counters that, so it doesn't take over. But overall, I mean, in limited, I think that all the new gods are pretty powerful. You know, if you're against one, it's going to be pretty difficult to get it off the board. You know, I mean, anything you can do really is exile it or get it out of the graveyard. So yeah, they're powerful, and I hope I put one in them in Limited.
Talking about OP cards, they've also printed a cycle of interesting cards to deal with the planeswalkers of the set, because nobody really likes the Gatewatch anymore, do they? I think we're all a bit fed up of them.
Especially Gideon.
As much as Chandra Bay and all, especially
Liana.
Gideon. Yeah, so they've made a series of defeat cards. Here we're going to see Gideon's Defeat, which is a 1 white instant which exiles target creature, and if it was a Gideon, then you gain 5 life. I think it's a really interesting card that they're kind of looking at these cards specifically designed to take down the planeswalkers.
They all seem very, very powerful cards, you know, so you might get quite a lot of them in sideboard. They all do obviously target their own colour, so it would be Gideon would be exiling any white creature.
Yeah.
So that is the only issue with the sideboard.
So it's in the mirror matches.
Yeah, you've got to kind of guess what people are going to be playing before you sideboard it.
Yeah.
It's a pretty powerful sideboard to have.
I'm always happy to see an answer to Gideon, if I'm honest.
So one of the new mechanics we've got in the new set is Afflict. So basically Afflict, say for example if it's Afflict 2, when the creature becomes blocked, the defending player loses 2 life. So if it's Afflict 2 they'll lose 2 life, if it's Afflict 4 they'll lose 4 life. If they don't block, there's ability that the creature will do. So for example, Eternal of Harsh Truths, if it doesn't get blocked, you get to draw a card. You also have Wildfire Eternal. If it doesn't get blocked, you may cast a instant or sorcery card from your hand without paying its mana cost. So you get lots of different cards that have different abilities, and it's quite an interesting new mechanic. I'm not too sure how well it's going to do, but it seems pretty good to me. What do you think, Andrew?
I think it's an ability that really rewards you for being aggressive. You want to keep attacking because then either they're taking the life damage or you're getting the special bonus. It seems quite strong. The creatures do end up with kind of slightly worse bodies, so like this 1/3 here doesn't seem that good, but attacking in and then they're either losing 2 life if they do kind of chump block it, or drawing that card is obviously quite powerful, and they'll in that case they'll take 1 card or 1 damage as well. I'm not sure how much play it will be. I think obviously I think it will come out in limited quite a lot as people kind of toy out with it, but it seems unless you've got a big payoff, it doesn't seem that worth it for constructed. You look at Wildfire Eternal and you can cast any instant or sorcery, but what kind of sorceries really are there that you're that desperate that you couldn't just kind of cast with your own mana anyway? So
4 mana is a lot as well, so you're going to have to swing at that unless you've got haste with it somehow.
Yeah.
Swing at that at turn 5, and by that time they've most likely got something that can kill that creature. So yeah, you may get the Afflicts, but it obviously won't be that worth it then if it's died straight away. So you might want to maybe people
make
try
it
and
unblockable,
yeah,
I guess. Things like Key to the
pump them up
City
or
has
something.
still ability.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Key to City might come into play. Yeah, so something's got to either keep it alive or make it unblockable, I think, for it
To make it worth it.
Yeah.
In Amonkhet Limited, one of the all-star mechanics was Embalm that comes up a lot. It just gives you extra creature value because you can bring a token copy of a creature in your graveyard by exiling it. And this is developed in Hour of Devastation with Eternalize. Now Eternalize essentially is the same effect. You have to wait till your creature's in the graveyard, but then you pay the cost and it creates a 4/4 copy of the creature as a token instead of a straight up copy. So this often just massively improves the creature. A key example of this is Adorn Pouncer. So you can see it starts off as a 1/1 double strike, which seems okay for 2. But when it gets eternalized, obviously a 4/4 double strike is a lot more powerful than a 1/1 double strike, and you kind of see a massive leap in difference, because that's if you're just attacking and it's unblocked, that's doing 2 damage and then like going to 8 damage when it's eternalized. So that's quite an easy example to see the difference of power there.
Yeah, no, Eternalize seems really powerful in the set, and like you said, yeah, I mean, I think especially as well with the Pouncer, you know, you can get it out early on, and that can block any of the smallish creatures, you know, so it can kill anything with 2 toughness, and then even if it does die, you know, you're going to get some reward back later game. Another card would be Champion of the Wits. So when it enters the battlefield, you draw cards equal to its power. If you do, you discard 2 cards. So it starts as a 2/1, so obviously you can draw 2 cards and then just discard 2 cards if you like. When you internalise it, obviously that'll be then 4. Drawing 4 cards is quite a lot of value. Bear in mind you do have to discard them, 4 cards.
No, you'll only have to discard 2 cards. And that's the advantage of the internalised. You'll draw the 4 from the power, but you'll only still have to discard 2, so then you gain 2 cards as well as having the big 4/4 body.
There you go, so there's a lot of value. The eternalise cost does vary, so for Champion of the Wits, it's 7 mana to eternalise, whereas the Dawn's Pounder is only 5 mana.
Yeah.
So it can vary how much.
And there are some others with things like you have to discard a card as well, so you do have to watch out that sometimes you're paying more for the internalised cost because of how powerful the effect it is.
Yeah, exactly. So another new feature we've got in the set is the introduction of more deserts. So we've got, as well as more desert land cards, we've got lots of creatures that interact with deserts. So an example of a creature would be Sidewinder Naga. Sidewinder Naja. Is it a Naga? It's not a Naga.
Yes, a Naga.
Is that how you say it?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Naja.
So as long as you control a desert, or there's a desert in your graveyard, Sidewinder Naga gets +1 and has trample. So that'll put it up to a 4/2. 3 mana, that's pretty good. So yeah, we've got lots of cards, quite a few cards actually, that interact with deserts.
I think it expands on the last set. There are certain cards, things like Chefnet Monitor, where it seemed like quite a powerful card, but the kind of clause to pick up a desert as well seemed quite irrelevant because none of the deserts seemed that playable. But these ones seem pretty good. There's an introduction of 2 main types of deserts. We've got the deserts named after the monuments, where and the old gods, where they're essentially they're enter tap lands for 1 colour, but they all have cycling, and cycling is obviously a powerful ability, especially in limited, where if you pick up these in a draft, you're just gonna put them in your deck, whatever, as long as you're in that colour, just to give you that last that late game draw if you need it. And the other type is the kind of mono-coloured pain lands. I think they've been called. They're like the Sheevan Reef and Caves of Koilos we've seen before, but only for 1 land. So you can pay 1 life to add that colour to your mana pool, or add colourlust for free, and they will have a special ability like kind of tacked on the end, depending on the colour of the card. Depends how relevant the ability is. So for the green one, we've got 2 and a green, 2 greens and 1 of any other colour, and you tap it, and you have to sacrifice a desert. It doesn't necessarily have to be this one, but so you can sacrifice the other deserts if that's more relevant. And here you can give a creature +3/+3. They all these abilities require you to sacrifice a desert. So maybe we'll see people look to pick up these cards more soon.
And even if it's in the graveyard, like the other creature said, you still get value out of it. So it doesn't matter if it's on the graveyard or on the battlefield. Even when you do sacrifice it, it's still going to give you some value, even when it's in the graveyard.
Yeah, there's cards like Sidewinder and Naga do seem pretty powerful.
So I think in limited, I think it could turn out to be pretty powerful. The synergy is definitely there.
Overall, I really like the deserts. I think it's a quite cool niche, and I think they didn't. There's a few nice ones in Amonkhet, but I don't think they quite kind of capitalised on what they could have been. I think these look a bit more exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think again the flavour definitely works with the flavour.
Obviously, another returning mechanic is cycling, which has been a big part of Amonkhet, and obviously it's a returning mechanic in Magic in general, but we really like it in this set as well, don't we?
Yeah, I think in the first in Amonkhet, it was interesting, but I don't think some of the synergies going on didn't quite work. Either it was too much costing, or it just didn't come off. But I think with the new set, with the introduction of a lot more cycling cards, I think it's definitely something that could be seen now and constructed. And
like the deserts as well.
Yeah, the deserts as well. I'd see it as well.
Mark Cavendish, you are out.
Breathe.
And that's the end of most of the mechanics in the new set and general kind of ideas that we thought we'd discuss with you. Finally, once again, the cards that everyone loves to hate are back, ready for a new batch. We've got the Invocations for Hour of Devastation. There are a lot of janky ones. Some of them are interesting. I love Blood Moon, and some of the art does look really impressive. there are some kind of weird ones like Avatar of Woe. Just seem a bit kind of maybe out of place, and I think the Invocations have maybe kind of overstayed their welcome a bit. I think people are just kind of they were excited when they first came out with the expeditions, but they seem a bit kind of boring almost now. And you're still going to be very happy when you open them, but not quite as exciting. I think it's refreshing that they've announced that they're moving away from them and not including them in every set to only include it when it kind of makes sense. I think that's a really smart decision.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think when they first introduced them in Kaladesh, it was really exciting, and everyone was really buzzing if they got one, but don't get me wrong, I'd still be happy to open one, but I think, like you said, I think there's just too many of them at the moment. How many do you know they are in?
30 in each set.
30 in each. Yeah, it's just, if it was like 10, I think that'd be fine. Just 10 really solid cards with some sick artwork. I think that would be a reasonable amount. But when I think there's just too many of them, and it's just sort of killed the hype in a way. Don't get me wrong, I'd still be very happy if I pulled one.
I don't think Christy is. Christy's still yet to open a masterpiece, so a bit upsetting. So maybe your luck will shine, and you will open an Avatar of Woe.
The most janky one.
Yeah. Very true. The sun has set on the plane of Earth. Thank you for joining us for our Sunnyside review of Hour of Devastation, if you've made it this far.
Yeah, and I hope you have a sweltering sun's time this weekend at the pre-release at your local game store. It should be fun. Pull some inventions. Hopefully they're not too janky.
Lots of value. Yeah, we're definitely going to be there. We're going to be teaming up for a two-headed giant event.
Team Get Wrecked, you'll know the name soon, don't get me wrong.
Team Get Wrecked, signing off. So you took one good take, and you just don't think you're up to the task.
I'm a one-take pony, mate.
Do you get indestructible from Crestmain?
Join us next time for the jungles of Ixalan.